So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is part probably 3 of watercolouring and playing with derwent watercolour pencils. Now this particular set is quite old, that's why it's kind of a turquoisey colour. Now they're all the purple, the dark purple, dark blue colour, like the inktense pencils. But these are derwent watercolour pencils. Now some of these things you could do with inktense pencils, but when they are set, you can't reactivate them. Whereas with the watercolor pencils, the beauty of these is you can use them as a pencil and blend, or you can use them as a watercolor pencil, or you can actually use them as a watercolor. So I've done a few backgrounds and washes. So by scraping colour into a little well with water, you can do a colour wash. Oh, hi Melody, welcome to Bunny's Designs. Just play with my derwent watercolour pencils. So I've got 6 colours here. I've got white, I've got Scarlet Lake number 12, Madder Carmine 19, Geranium Lake 15, Burnt Carmine 65 and Orange Chrome number 10. Now I am actually going to put them in order, in colour order, purely because I'm going from light to dark, because then I can do it really quickly. Because you can't really mess about with this method. Now this is watercolour paper, £140. It's crinkled because it's not set, but I want to play with this particular piece of paper so that I've already stretched two watercolour papers. So there's quite a fat puddle of water on there. Which we can't see, but you will in a second. Right, so sharp blade, scalpel is best. So white on the top, because I've got white on here, so I want a lot of white on the top. And it's a very strange thing, but what happens is the water shape that you've made, now my blade probably wants changing. The water shape is like a stencil. So this colour is only going to stick on the shape of the water that I've done. So I kind of like this orangey colour. So you can put as much colour or as little as you want, but you can do as many colours as you want, and you cannot do that with traditional watercolours. With traditional watercolours, if you put 3 colours together, you'll get mud, but here we can mix. We could put brown in here, we can put any colours we want, because it's just kind of really, really good. So the next one, I'm going to go a bit lower down here now. And then finally, I just want a little bit of really, really dark at the bottom. So you can be a little bit more precise. And if you want some bigger ones, if it was like, excuse me, pebbles or stone walls, you could curl big scrapings if you wanted to. So I think that might do. I might just put the palest one just a bit more kind of on this area here. So of course the nearer you are, the more precise you can be. Now I haven't been too bad actually here, but if you had smaller spaces it would all be covered. And then what you do is you blow, and magically all the colour sits on that wet area, which is like a wet stencil. So you could leave it like that, or you can just kind of, I might just take just a little bit of water out of there. There's a tiny touch of water too much. So you can leave it like that, which is quite nice, and it looks really, really effective. Alfie, that's naughty. Sorry. Or you can just touch, and you do need a clean brush for this because you don't want to lose all that white you've just put in. You can just kind of touch a little bit and just get, and we know where Alfie's gone, don't we? Bear with me a second. Sorry about that. Oh, bless him. I was shouting when he was in his bed. Oh dear. Hi, Melody. Hope you're okay. Thank you for stopping by. Anybody else popping in? So you could do all of it like this. It's not a traditional way, but it's a really cool effect. And I have masking fluid on the little white dots, so in theory it should look quite good. So the next one I will do, because it's a practice, I'll show if you mix it all together. But let me have a look at my... So that could be a stone wall or a beach, pebble beach. And the colours aren't perfect, but you can pick out, once this has dried, you can wet other areas nearer to you, and you could do bigger stones. So on the beach in the background you've got pebbles, but nearer to you you can have bigger stones like you do have on a natural beach. So there's some really nice techniques. You can do it with the mushroom, and then you can kind of blend it a little bit, or you can leave it depending on how you want. But you can do every colour combination you want. Oopsie, sorry, the coffee boy is going. Oh dear, thank you, Dexter, that was grand. Goodness me. So, where are we now? So right then, just see if we can get some water. I've had a lot of trouble with my lighting today, and I thought I'd fixed it, and then I've kind of messed it up again. So you can see that that one's wet. So in a minute, I'm not going to do it quite as wet this time. Bearing in mind you can't touch that one because it will run. Now as it happens, it doesn't matter, but if it was something that was a different colour, if these two waters touched, and again this is just a practice, so if you didn't like the white, you could leave the white out and maybe put a bit of purple blue in. I did have ultramarine somewhere, so I'm going to put a bit of blue in. So I've got 6 colours. I'm going to put burnt up. I think I might put a bit of chocolate in actually. I think I like chocolate. Yeah, I'm going to put a bit of chocolate in as well. So I could take the burnt carmine. Oh, I might just leave them all in. So it's just drying out now because I've messed about. So again, just tease that to there. Make sure it's everywhere you want because you only get one shot at this. And then we can go in with the white. So if you had something delicate here, it wouldn't make any difference because My light's gone again, sorry. So on the top we want the white, and then we'll have the next colour. And then we'll have a bit more of this colour. Got more curls on this one. Probably that's the lightest orange. I was out of sync then, so put this a bit further up. And then we can get just a little bit of dark in there. And then I think we'll get kind of a little bit of blue. And then we can go. So we can leave it like that, which looks quite nice. It's quite a good effect. And we can take a water brush, but I use the single one. Take some water off it, so it's just barely damp. And then kind of, you can just touch. I do have a lot of brown in this one, but it's not very a red one. But by varying and adding and taking out different colours, you can get different effects. So again, this is just a practice. I haven't done this for a long time. But it can give you some quite nice effects. Now I've got, I would do this on watercolour paper because you're using it very wet. But we could try it on other paper. I seem to have got a lot of paper. Now I do have a 90. That's 140. One of them is 90. Let me have a look which one it was. What happened to that one? Because I've been playing with half a dozen different ones. But it's a good idea to have a practice, and then if you ended up with a little bit of colour, which I shouldn't have got rid of actually, you could maybe kind of tease this down. So if I show you on this one, so we'll have I'll do a triangle. And I'll just make it slightly different triangle. So it's got to be kind of, you can see the shimmer. There is a triangle, a wet triangle. So we've got this straw yellow. So I think if you use the end of the blade, you get little bits. If you use a big stroke of the blade, you get curls. And there is a blue. and I don't have any sharp points on any of these, so don't need them all like that. You need to work while it's wet though, that's one of the things you have to do. And then when you blow, you get a toadstool. And so what you can do then is you can get quite a nice effect. And depending, it's not quite wet enough, but you've got a really kind of rough, toadstool there. I'm not sure I can do a control find miss. I think it's the end of the pencil, but I tell you what would give a finder disc. Let me just, I did want to concentrate on watercolour pencils. Bear with me 2 seconds. But I do like that effect, it looks quite nice and it's very different, and of course on butterfly wings that would be quite magical. Just bear with me 2 seconds because I think so hopefully in a month's time I should be in another studio, so the light should be constant. Whoopsie, because it's so bear with me a second while I pick out my right. So I don't know what's in here, I can't remember. So there. Right. So that's still wet. You can still see where it's wet. I've just put that up there to dry. So in here are my derwent pastels. And in there I have my inktense blocks. So let me just pan out. Oh, make one for me, Kenny, please. Thank you. Let me just do this. So I'll show you very quickly the same technique. Now this will be a dust because excuse me. It's the nature of pastels. Both these will be dust. Just put my watercolours back in here. So you do need a sharp blade. Sorry for the noise. I just put the pencils out of the way. So we'll do the mushroom. Get the colours out first. So we're doing a mushroom. We'll do a red mushroom. So we'll have that one out. That one out. Oh, we could do that one out. That one out. Going the wrong way. And this one would be. So I've got 2, 4, I've got 6 colours out. So I've got, now I don't know the numbers because they're numbered but they're not named. But whatever derwent inktense, sorry, derwent pastel. I've got number 30, number 100, 130, 140, 160 and 200 and 200, I think. So, so we want a wet, oopsie, okay, I've done my mushroom. I'm not going to do that bit yet because I don't want it that colour. So let's have a go. Whoops, that was not a good idea. So a little bit of yellow on the top. If you do it, it will go on a straight line that way. And that is coming across as a dust. And it is moving about. Oopsie, I didn't need to do that one. So that's mixed together. That was quite wet actually. So we'll try again down here. We won't do it quite as wet. So if you can see that one, I've got white, yellow. It just stays where I've touched it. So you can leave it like that, or with just a damp brush, you can just kind of touch. So you could leave some untouched and some. And what that's given you is the mushroom effect. Now you can't mix that too much because the red and blue, the red and purple are making a brown and the orange. But if you just touch it a little bit, you've got a contrast. Um, I actually prefer watercolours, but it is possible to do it with these, and you can see the little bit. You can see the little bit that's scratched off. I'm having trouble with my lighting today. So that's with the pastel pen, Derwent pastel pencil. Sorry, the Derwent pastels. Which come in 36. And I have to have an elastic band over mine because I tend to drop them a bit. And then we've got the inktense blocks. And I suspect these are just the same. Now, I've put mine in made little tags for mine so that I can lift them out easy. So something else you can do is, oopsie, you can put colour here. Now this might be quite bright, but it's okay. It's quite wet, is that? So that's okay. So we'll have that one. That one. Now, probably should know what colours I'm using rather than just guessing, but it'll be fine. So remember, if you do it like this, you get curls. If you do it thingy, you get finer. And I think I like this one. So how many greens have we got now on this? It's going to be quite interesting. Oh, I must have used that one. That one. And if you use more of one in one side than the other, you get I've only got this one, I think, that I can do this with. So what you want is to fan your brush out. And it isn't a pretty sight to see your brush in this state, I have to say. And then what you have to do is you hold it down and you stroke it upwards. Now, it's actually not quite wet enough, but you see the grass, pseudo grass effect with so many different colours on there. So you can use it to make lots of different grass effects. Oopsie, I've picked up colour from somewhere else now. But you can get some quite nice grass effects from that. It's not a real grass effect, but there's no reason why you can't then take a very fine brush and you can take them out like this. Now, I've never done this before, I just thought of this because of my riggers. But you've got to remember, once this inktense is, might be better with a proper rigger. if it was a bit wetter, you would get more colour. But of course, remember this is inktense and it's drying, so in fact, I've just found another way to do it. Scratch your colour, and instead of doing that with the brush, do it individually with a rigger. And you can get some tall grasses. You would need masking fluid. I think you'd need masking fluid. So that's quite fine. So that was good fun. And then, of course, if we're doing inktense blocks, we may as well do inktense pencils, which I have in my bag. Now I will try this with Neocolor 2s and also Derwent art bars. But your colours wouldn't be as fine, so for a finer one, it's pastels. You could do this with pastels. You can do it with inktense blocks, which are a deep inktense pastel, and you can do it with an ordinary Derwent watercolour pastel. And you can do this, as I say, I learned to do it with this. So that, oopsie, we've dried now. So we had one here. Put that one up there to dry. So let's take some pencils. We've got apple green, wild fern, that's a green, that's a green, leaf green obviously, and light olives. We've got some nice colours here. So my room seems to have gone very dark all of a sudden, so my lighting's going strange. So again, we want, I can show this one. This is your mushroom, and so we want some so it works the same as the pencils. If you scratch the end with a tiny bit, you get tiny scrapings. If you get bigger, you've got bigger scrapings. Have to sharpen it. Oh dear. My hands are just too pearly at the moment. So one should never say never. The nearer lower down you are, the smaller, the more control you've got. Looks like it's dried now, so you can't mess about too much, otherwise you're in trouble. And, let me have a look for a brush that might just... So you need a flat brush, and you need to spread it and then you have that kind of effect. Now, of course, remember these are inktense, so they're very, very strong. And I wouldn't do it more than once because you lose that vibrancy. You lose the vibrancy. So you'd mask everything off if you wanted to do that in a colour book. Now, to go back to these, I was going to put some water, and I'll zoom in now because I think I might be able to save my light. So I'll do this bit. Oops, it's a bit. And you just take a dry, if you do this, you can just take a dry brush and soak some up if you want. Just need to get that off there really. I should have gone in with a bit of a smaller brush. Now the problem I've done that because the other's damp, yeah, it's going to run everywhere, so I'll do all of it. It doesn't really matter. It's the technique that we need to see. So it's basically the opposite to a masking fluid. Wherever you put the water, you will get colour. And I want some, I don't want inktense pencils, unfortunately. I want my fawn colours. But the wonderful thing is you can do so many colours. So this particular technique, it will only stay where you put your water. So I could do a colour book like this actually. The Joanna one might take a little bit more water. And then when you blow, it only sticks to where the water is. So then you have a choice of just kind of just manipulating it. I mean, you can mix it all if you want, but it would be such a shame to lose all those gorgeous colours and that mottled effect that you've got. That would be really difficult to get if you were just using a stickle brush. And it gives it a little bit of texture. And you can touch that a little bit more if you want. Or you can, if you wanted a shadow, you can then pick your darkest one. And you can use these. Never dip the pencil in water. It wrecks the brush, it wrecks the pencil, but you can always do this. And you would obviously do this away from your painting because you wouldn't want to splatter your painting. Because it's pure colour on here, so you can get a shadow if you want. Or we can use that kind of Chocolate one's quite good. If we wanted a bit of a shadow under there. While it's wet, you can do what you want with it. So you can do all sorts of things. Actually, I quite like that. I might use that. I quite like that one. So I've got this one going. And then there's another one. That one's kind of run now because it was too wet. So, but the little one worked quite well. And slightly better than, I don't like these. So they're slightly better. So as I say, this is for a beach. And then if you want some rocks on the beach, you let that dry and then you do it again on top, individual blobs, different shapes, and then you do the technique again and you get rocks. So it's very, very clever. So I'm sure we might have a beach scene somewhere. So I thought you might just like these playing with the derwent watercolour pencils. Thank you for watching.